Yeah. That's good. Yeah.
How you doing?
Okay. How are you?
How old?
Coffee. I need coffee.
Okay.
So then I could find out what it was that made that knot for him. And then there's a gentleman by the name of Hinson, actually created transcriptions of people. And that has one of the too. So there's a variety of these as well. Then, so she very well It's his.
Well, it's not something. So you just put that in.
Oh,
Or
okay.
okay. So,
We might
show that
I'm
slide.
not lost with that.
Because it
Welcome, welcome.
was something completely different. Yes. So how long's it gonna, when do you want to start the program? It's like 2 minutes, 2 or 3 minutes at the most. Okay.
There's room for all kinds of people.
Keep moving forward in the direction they want. You know, being supported to that. I mean, that's, my understanding. And I believe that we really take that to heart. And then we stand on principles, and actually we're shifting the way that we look at our principles. But to try to take it a little bit simpler. Because I think on the back, it still has them listed as the 7 principles. So that's still the core of it that we're seeing.
And we actually have 8 now.
Yes, we do actually.
Yeah, but the simplifying is like that back with that logic. So like that's how
Working on the protest.
Continuation of religious education. I tell a story about halfway through the service, and then the kids come with me, so I'm She's straight. My name is Nova.
Do some people say to you, oh, you're
That one or the one above?
Yeah.
I've taped my microphone to my face. Give me a second here. Taped my mask with my microphone to my face. Okay, good morning. What a way to start. Good morning, friends. I'm Reverend McKinley Sims. I use he, him pronouns, and I am so honored to be the minister of this congregation. Welcome to UU's of Mount Airy. Whether this is your first time with us, we're glad to have you, or if you've been coming here for many, many years, it's good to see some old faces back again. We are joined here together on this rainy Sunday here in Philadelphia in a couple of ways. So we have folks here in our historically Universalist sanctuary, and we also have folks who are joining us online. We invite you to participate however you want, and I realize that I'm not supposed to be talking right now. We're actually supposed to have Shay Dively, our intern minister, do our welcome.
You're doing so well. Just keep going.
Well, so I'll let Shay come in and do our chalice lighting here in just a second. If this is your first time with us, there is expectations for lots of participation. You're invited to participate however you would like. We do some singing, we do some ritual, we're going to hear a story, we're going to hear some words, and most of all, we're going to be together. So we invite you to partake in that however you feel called to do so. We are a Unitarian Universalist congregation, which means that we're people of all different religious traditions. Some who believe in God, and some who don't. Some who were born Unitarian Universalist, and some who come from other religious traditions. Some who grew up clapping on 1 and 3, and some who grew up clapping on 2 and 4. And we all gather together in this historically Universalist sanctuary, which means that everyone is welcome in our divine tapestry of love. And we try to put love at the center of everything we do. So if that sounds like you are in the right place, and we are so glad to be together today. Friends online, as you're joining us, please participate as much as you will. If you have a chalice or something with you to light, as we do so in a moment here in the sanctuary, please do so. And please feel free to share your joys and sorrows using the Zoom chat function. If you need closed captions and you're on Zoom, there's a button at the bottom of your screen that says CC for closed captions. And we invite you to click that if you need a little bit of help understanding my accent in particular. A big thank you to Lynn Reeser, who is filling in for our music today, for Mike Foy, who is running our AV Tech, and to Kath McCoubry, who is sharing words of reflection later in the service. If you've got little ones with you, and if you're on your way and you have little ones, Miss Elizabeth Ann Terry is our Director of Religious Education, and she and our child care staff will be taking kids a little bit later in the service, following the time that we call our Story for All Ages. All right, friends. Let's take a breath together and ground ourselves here in this space. Find yourself with your feet on the floor, your back in the pew or in the chair or sofa at home. Take a few nice, easy breaths in and out. And bring yourself into this space. Today's service is about mysticism and social action, about liberation theology and love with a capital L. And all of those things are going to hold hands together in this worship as we open our hearts and minds to talk about liberating love. We talk about questions of comfort, safety, privilege, and radicalism. At different points throughout this service, we are going to engage in what is called trauma-informed worship practices. Those are big words, but really what it means is we're going to take a pause every now and then just to check in with ourselves. We're not talking about a lot of things that need a trigger warning or a content warning, I don't think, but we are going to talk about race and love and liberation. So I just want to invite us into a practice of being gentle with ourselves. And so the first thing we're going to do is very, very simple. If you feel moved to do so, I'm going to invite you to either kind of give yourself a hug like this, or if that feels a little too funny, just grab your elbows here. And just give it a little rock and take another nice breath. Friends at home, you can do this as well. And then I'm going to invite you to tap your hands just a little bit. Feeling that motion on both sides of your body, connecting both sides of your brain, the rest of the wonderful machine that you are. And then when you're ready, You can let your hands down. That wasn't so bad, right? Friends, come, let us enter into these waters together, holding one another gently and answering the call of liberating love. You do chalice lighting?
In Unitarian Universalist congregations, we light a chalice to celebrate our coming together in love, to mark the sacred space and time of our community, and invite the Spirit into our lives. We invite you to light a candle wherever you are today. Please read along with me if you feel moved to do so, as we light our chalice with words from Resma Menakem. At its best, activism is a form of healing. It is about what we do and how we show up in the world. It is about learning and expressing regard, compassion, and love. May it be so. Our opening hymn is number 1020, Woyaya. We invite you to rise in body or in spirit and sing along here or at home.
We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know within we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. It will be hard, we know, and the road will be muddy and rough, but we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Woyaya, 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 woyaya. We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know within we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. It will be hard, we know, and the road will be muddy and rough, but we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Woyaya, 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 woyaya.
Part of our being a community is learning to share the authentic and vulnerable parts of ourselves with others, to see and be seen, to know and be known. We make space today for that sharing, all of which helps to build this congregation into beloved community. We invite you to share what's going on in your life, to name your feelings and the people on your heart in need of prayer, good energy, best wishes, and other help. We invite you to get into your body and investigate what emotions you are experiencing, to share them as you feel called so we can help one another hold our joys, our grief, our in-between feelings. We build community by celebrating our good times, mourning our troubles, taking risks, and listening deeply. For our online sharing, we invite you who are on Zoom to share what you're feeling this week and to lift up the names of those about whom you are thinking in the chat. For those watching us on live stream or after Sunday morning, you can reach Reverend McKinley via email at minister@uumountairy.org. And for those in our sanctuary, we ask that you come up one at a time by the side aisle to pick up a stone or stones from the basket, infuse or charge it with your joy or sorrow, and place it in the bowl of water where its energy will ripple out to be held by all of us. All are welcome to participate in any of these ways, and for those who have gathered virtually, I'll add stones on your behalf. The table of sharing is now open.
My name's Bruce. I put in one stone for Jamie, who's going through some challenges right now. Just send good energy his way. And for Keo, our other child, he's been working on First Unitarian in Center City, voting to adopt the 8th principle. I think it's happening today, so send liberating vibes their way, please.
Bernadette, I put a stone in for Gary, my husband, on his continued journey from healing from cancer, and he's doing well. And the other stone, well, 2 stones, is I've been a midwife for 37 years, and I have fear about what's happening to maternity care in our country. And so, I guess it was November, they closed one of our offices, and then 2 of my partners out of 5 of us resigned. And now with budget cuts, we found out this week that they're closing the maternity in our hospital. And they have a plan that will go to one of the other hospitals, but it won't be the same gentle, sacred birth.
My name's Deb. I just want to celebrate the continued, my friends and family who are still in recovery for many years now from drugs and alcohol. Hello, my name is Annie, and I have a couple of concerns. A friend of mine just found out that she has breast cancer, and they're trying to figure out what's going on with it. It's quite complicated. And another friend of mine just had a serious surgery within the last couple of weeks. So please keep them in your hearts.
Hi, good morning. My name is Linda. I put in 6 stones because I have 6 friends who are having surgery this month of January, so a stone for each of them. And one of them, our dear Ron Soper, is going to be having surgery in a day or two. I believe it's the 29th, the 30th, or around then. So sending good thoughts for Ron.
Hello. Hi, I'm David A. And I put a stone in for all of you because I'm experiencing overwhelming joy at being welcomed and seeing your faces and feeling your warmth for us in our little bit extended absence. So thank you, and joy to all of you, and thanks for this community.
Good morning. I put in a lot of stones because it's a big rally today to save the Chestnut Hill West regional line. So for all those who are out here, as myself, just hoping that it doesn't happen. The other last stone I put in is because I've never said it publicly, but I'm a freedom.
Good morning. My name is Wayne, and I would like you to have thoughts and prayers for a good friend of mine that I've been taking care of for about 4 years now, maybe 5 years. And we're only 2 years difference, but he calls me Uncle Wayne. And he's in the hospital again. This is his second trip within, I would say, 3 weeks. And he has a lot of health issues, but I was there yesterday, and things are looking better for him. In fact, I was fortunate enough to get power of attorney. So now that I think things will run a little smoother now.
My name is Angela. It's my second time being here, and I'm finding the fellowship here to just be wonderful. That was one stone. Another one is I'm one of 21 first cousins in my generation, and in the last 6 months we've lost 3 of us. So the other 2 stones are just for the grieving that we're all going through. There's a lot in the next generation, and I have 2 aunts, one of whom, one of the children was hers. So just for those who have gone and those who are still here.
Shay's going to put a few more stones in the bowl for all those joys and sorrows that were not spoken out loud but held in the quiet of our hearts. Thank you. Friends, I'm going to invite you to put your hand on your heart. And I'm going to pray, and I invite you to pray with me if that is something that resonates with you, or invite you into a period of stillness and silence. Spirit of life and love that holds all of us, that animates our thoughts and deeds to build the world we dream about. When we come together imperfectly to be humans in a community, we don't always do it right. There are ups and downs, there are joys and sorrows. As we send our love to all those named out loud today, and those named in the depths of our souls, may we find strength in one another. May we find strength in that love that holds us and refuses to let us go. May we find peace in knowing that being parts of this holy relationship is doing the work of liberating love. And may we be that love in the world. May it be so. Amen. Thank you, friends. I invite Elizabeth and Terry forward for our story for all ages.
You can join me on the rug. I am Elizabeth Ann Terry. My pronouns are she, her, hers. Do I need to sing? Yes, I do. She, her, hers. I'm your Director of Religious Exploration. Going to share with you a story that you may have heard in many forms, different from the one I'm going to share with you today. And it's the parable of the river. The parable of the river. You can think about this young woman, let's call her Betty, and she's walking by the river, and it's like clean, and she can hear it, and it's sparkling, and there's a waterfall. Wonderful music it is making. She goes there most days. She goes the next day, and she sees that the river is a little bit murky. It's not that clear water that she's used to seeing. She says, oh, well, it's just that day. Maybe it's the clouds. Maybe. But this is my river. I wonder what's going on. The next day, when she comes, not only is it murky, it's a little dirty, and there are like weird things floating in it. And it's like, what is this? I've got to get my friends to explore this. We have to figure out what's going on. So Betty got a few of her friends, Frida and Julia and Leroy and Nova, to come and help her figure out what's going on. So they say, well, we got to go upriver to see where this is coming from. Didn't get plopped in right here. We got to go upriver. So they go upriver and they see that a corporation is just dumping things in the river. So it won't work if they just take it out every day where they are. But they do that for a while. Because you know why? They love everybody. They love everybody. And they want the river to be fabulous for all. So they're doing that for a while, and then it's like, oh no, this is not the answer. This is not the answer. Aren't we activists? Aren't we activists in the war of love? We are. We are activists. Can I get an amen? Amen. We are activists, and we want everyone to have the joy of the river and have love. So, these young people, they're not grown-ups, they're young people. They just go start picketing with their signs at the corporation, clean up our river. Clean up our river. Yes, clean up our river. Oh my goodness, it's a beautiful river, but the corporation is messing it up. So they're marching, and then they get grown-ups to come, but they started it, kids started it. Yeah, they started this movement to clean up the river. And the corporation said, we don't care. We don't care. And the kid says, they're saying, well, we're here because of love. And we love everyone. Doesn't your corporation love everyone? And the corporation says, we're not about that. We are not about that. And the kids are like, I don't understand. Because, you know, these kids came to a Unitarian Universalist church. And they were learning about love, and they were learning about activism. You know, that love and activism, you love something so much that you're going to do something. Kids kept marching. Kids kept marching. My God, kids and adults from other Unitarian Universalist churches and Quaker meetings and the Mennonite church and a few Catholic churches to join them. They kept marching. They were doing like this phone chain thing to like call them, like jam up their switchboard. You know, they were saying like, we are activists and we love everyone. So like they kept calling, and the corporation said, who are these people? And the kids said, we are warriors for love. We love the river. The river feeds us. It's beautiful. You know, that corporation had to clean up their act. They had to clean up their act because some kids like Nova and Kenneth said, we love the river and the river loves us. We are activists for love. And the river stayed clean. Woo!
Thank you, friends. So our young ones, if you would like to go with Miss Elizabeth Ann and Miss Jill and Miss Lena over to the other room for religious education, or if you want to go back with your family, that's just fine. To help us send them out, I invite you to sing just a little bit of Whoa, Yeah, Yeah with me.
Could we do it first?
We are going, heaven knows where we are going. We know we will, and we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there. We know we will.
Thank you, friends. Oh, we can sing Whoa, Yeah, Yeah if you want. Whoa, yeah, yeah. Whoa, yeah, yeah. Whoa, yeah, yeah. Whoa, yeah, yeah. Thank you. You sound great. I invite Kathy McCubry forward for words of reflection.
Good morning. I started getting very intellectual about embodiment, so I did a U-turn, so I kind of went down a more confessional path, so please bear with me. But before we come to my reflection, Ken has chosen a passage from a lecture by Howard Thurman, a Unitarian Universalist minister who was known for the Church of the Fellowship in San Francisco, the first multiracial, multi-denominational, large congregation in the country that he pastored. He was black and he pastored it with a white partner. Mysticism and Social Change, which he delivered in October of 1978, a few years before he died.
Kat, move the mic a little closer to me.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is this better? Yes. Oh, good. Okay. The ultimate logic of social action is what must be done at long last to save one's own soul and keep free and easy access to one's own altar in one's own heart. What it says essentially is this: I have done all I know and feel to do to help them remove the things and conditions that prevent their having free access to their own altars, to connect to the God of their own understanding. I must find a way to overcome what may at first glance seem to be a sickness and an arrogance, but it is to let my own life become an act of redemption, not of anybody else's soul, but my own act of redemption for my own soul. The broad supposition here is that the binding unity among all men must be preserved and contained. There is a unity that binds all living things into a single whole. This unity is sensed in many ways. Sometimes when walking alone in the woods, far from all the traffic, which makes up the daily experience, a stillness settles in the mind. Nothing stirs. The imprisoned self seems to slip outside its boundaries, and the ebb and flow of life is keenly felt. One becomes part of a single rhythm, a single pulse. Sometimes there is a moment of complete and utter identity with the pain of a loved one, or the intensity and anguish are deeply felt. One enters through a single door of suffering into the misery of the whole human race, with no margin left to mark the place one calls one's own. What is felt belongs nowhere, but is everywhere, binding and holding in a tight circle of agony until all of life is gathered into a single timeless gasp. There are other moments when one becomes aware of the thrust of a tingling joy that rises deep within until it bursts forth, radiating happiness that bears all of life in its glory and its warmth. Pain, sorrow, grief are seen as joy becoming. That is good. There is nothing new or old. Only the knowledge that what comes as a flooding insight of love binds all living things into a single whole. The filled river spreads and deepens until to live and to love are to do one thing. And yet there always remains the hardcore of the self, blending and withdrawing, giving and pulling back, accepting and rejoicing, yielding and unyielding. What may be this but the pulsing of a unity that binds all living things in a whole, single whole? Therefore, any denial of this possibility and opportunity for others cannot be tolerated. What I'm saying in this total discussion is that the mystic seeks ways for which he may find his way to that central core in himself, where the great God dwells, where in Eckhart's language, with the uncreated element, forgiveness of God is to be found. This is resident in all men, and indeed, I am persuaded, in all living things. It is at this altar that he gets a clue to making his total life resonant with the holy sound. What the mystic discovers for himself must be true for all people, good and bad, saint and sinner alike. As the mystic looks out upon the world, he sees there obvious elements in the social condition that keep men and women from the sense of presence within themselves. A way has to be found to restore and discover self-worth, authentic identity, the chief manifestations of which is a consciousness of the indwelling presence of which the mystic speaks. The call to social action, therefore, must never be an end in itself, but rather a means by which the individual sufferer may get access to their own altar. And this, after all, is the only thing that matters. I hope you get to read that again, because I had to read it many times. It was packed. This is a reflection on embodiment. I can get pretty prickly. Do not touch me the wrong way. Recently, I had the thought that I might still be untouchable when I die, prompted in part by my mother's recent death, but mainly it came to me because there is a place in myself that I have not been able to reach, a void I have circled feeling for its edges. Off and on through the years, I have gone down blind alleys of misdiagnosis and mistreatment of a mysterious pelvic disorder, following false promises of the latest mind-body approaches, always wondering, loudly or softly, what is this? How did I get this way? Why can't I understand my own body? Why isn't it getting better? Why can't I fix it? Why can't I get help? My next thought was a reminder that I am not untouchable. I just needed to notice my points of contact, the parts of myself that exchange physical and emotional and intellectual energy with others, the spark and flow of moving among family and friends and groups, the sentience and awareness of being in the world. I needed to remember the amazing alchemy of moving my body through time and space to embody the ineffable. I've often had a dual sense that something is very wrong and that I'm actually fine and very lucky. The term embodiment refers to a tangible or visible form, a representation or expression of an idea, a quality, or a feeling. You can also think of embodiment as a way of living life informed through the sensory experience of the body. The current notion of embodiment holds up our lived experience as an antidote to our numbing and enervating technologies and as a key to wellness and recovery from trauma. This return to the body as the locus of our humanity has been a recurring theme since the beginning of the industrial era. Before then, every village had a form of dance that showed who they were and how they belonged to their place. However, idealizing the physical characteristics of a single ethnicity or nationality has also been used to justify sterilization, euthanasia, and genocide. In post-industrial societies, the decreasing demands to perform manual labor and to interact in person are diminishing our capacity for meaningful physical engagement. So when I thought about my early history of embodiment, I saw snapshots of myself in my mother's lap and my father's arms. I'm lying in a pool of sunshine with my cat, singing along with Burl Ives, posing before a ballet recital, carrying my baby brother, minding the horseshoe crabs at the beach. I'm watching Mom stiffen silently when Dad calls to say he will miss dinner. I'm learning to cry to make him stop tickling me, and getting scared when he lets me hang too long from a rafter in the living room. I'm asking Mom my questions at bedtime. I'm waiting for the tension between my parents to return. I'm feeling good about school, hating moving away, learning how to body surf with Dad. Then years of missing him, years of missing her, being in an outer orbit on my own, seeking comfort without connection, a miscarriage, years as Dad's significant other while he went through many rehabs, and years of pride in his recovery. I can see the shape of the void I've carried for so long, and that space is neither empty nor mysterious. It holds a story of rupture and absences, silence and loss, loyalties tested and boundaries crossed and over again. Enfolded inside this story lies unclaimed parental grief for fathers lost to suicide and heart disease, and a grandmother lost in childbirth. Now I know that the medical mystery is as much a reflection of the dearth of research in women's health as it is my body's attempt to protect me in that sore and tender place. But just as my Unitarian upbringing taught me to live with the big questions, so may centering love teach me to honor my brokenness without shame and lead me toward deeper engagement with a broken world. I cannot do that alone. Being in community is itself a powerful form of embodiment with its potential to amplify the good that we can do together. Most of all, I am so grateful to be in covenant with you, all of you, as we aspire toward beloved community.
So, friends, we're going to meditate on those words with some music played by Lynn Reeser on the piano. The words to the hymn are number 130 in the gray hymnal, but it's new for a lot of us. So we're not going to expect you to sing it all together. But what I'm going to invite you to do is to listen to the words, to reflect on Kathy's wisdom. And if you feel moved, to hum along with Lynn as he plays the music of number 130, O Liberating Rose. And I'm going to really invite you to consider humming and feeling the resonance of those hums and those sounds inside your body as an embodiment practice. Feel free to stay seated where you are, and we will hum or sing if you would like, number 130, O Liberating Rose.
Get through once, and then if you feel like singing.
Yeah, Lynn's going to play it through once so we get the tune, and then we'll hum along. The Unitarian Universalist Association will actively engage its members in the transformation of the world through liberating love. That is part of the new proposal of the UUA bylaws, and it talks about centering love. So to talk about this, we need to think of through three things: transformation, liberation, and love. We can do them in reverse order. Start with love. We talked about that last week. So if you would like, you can go back and listen to that. There's a lot we could say about love. There are many definitions, and we're going to keep talking about centering love, as we have done so for many, many years here. But I want to share a very quick story of how I often think about love. In my previous life, I was a basketball coach and a middle school teacher, and many of us know that. And one of the mottos we had in working with our kids in New Haven, Connecticut, with all the systems and structures of oppression and violence that they had to navigate every day, was for our space to be the place where we love them until they didn't know anything else. Love someone until they don't know anything else. And I try to keep that in mind when I act with people, especially when those people act in ways that can be hard to love. Some of us can be a little prickly. So liberation, that is a theological word in this context, and some of us might hear the word theology and start to shrink a little bit. If you're feeling yourself get a little tense, take a breath. If you need to give yourself a little hug and do the tapping thing, that's what it's for. If you need to hum, that's fine. We're going to talk very quickly about theology. Here in UU context, theology, I like to say, is the study of the big questions that we are taught to sit with. It's the study of what is most important in life, what is most holy for us, the things that resonate most with us, and then how we act in accordance with those answers to those questions. It's wrestling with big questions in life in order to act differently in accordance with our deepest values. When we say theology, that's what we're talking about. It is both what love is and what love calls us to do and be in the world. Does that make sense? That's my definition of theology, at least. So liberation and liberation theology has a very specific meaning, and it's taken on a more general meaning. But the very specific meaning actually comes out of Roman Catholicism. And if you've ever read anything about liberation theology, this is, I don't know how deeply you want to go into it, but there was this thing called Vatican II, and they opened up the Catholic Mass to not just be in Latin anymore, and all of a sudden more people could think theologically within their tradition, especially if they were Catholic, especially indigenous people in Central and South America. In those places where colonialism had touched so deeply and was still informing the separation of society and creating these oppressive hierarchies, all of a sudden, your regular run-of-the-mill men at that point, the priest, could think theologically and open up their theology to the folks in their pews. And when you start to get the people to power, the people at the top start to get a little nervous. Liberation theology is what came out of this opening up of theology to poor folks, especially. And it spawned many great theological works, but one that is most influential to me was by a guy named Gustavo Gutierrez, Father Gustavo, who said that God has a preferential option for the poor. That the work of faith, that the work of love, and in his context, the work of Christianity, was to eradicate poverty, was to be in solidarity with people who were oppressed, was to work to help feed people, to clothe people, to house people. And that if you were not doing that, you were not doing what your faith called you to do. That was very powerful and very dangerous to lots of folks. Liberation theology was this idea that in Christianity, the central power was not about saving someone from sin far away after death from some kind of eternal punishment. It was about saving someone now, helping someone here, eradicating the very real sins of oppression and violence and poverty. And that the antidote to that oppression is liberation. And they became known as liberation theologians. On the more secular side, Paulo Freire wrote something called Pedagogy of the Oppressed. Many of us who are teachers or social workers are familiar with this work. And in that piece, the idea of liberation is secularized to talk about the role of humanity, the role of community. Paulo Freire in the English translation says, the goal is humanization. Humanization. There's lots of big words, but hang in there. Humanization as the opposite of dehumanization, which we see and hear about all the time. In my hometown, in my home state of Texas, there's plenty of dehumanization going on. And the antidote to that is this quest for humanization. How do we become fully human? By wrestling with these big questions. When dehumanization occurs, when actions and theology steal the humanity, not just from people seeking asylum and refugees from Central and South America who are trying to come into this country to seek a better way of life, not just when barbed wire fences steal their humanity and their lives. Paulo Freire offered up that it is also stealing the humanity of people like the governor of Texas. That to act in a dehumanizing way is to not do the work of what your religion calls you to do, and is actually dehumanizing yourself when you are an oppressor. That it is not just the plight of the imprisoned, the oppressed, and the poor that need humanization, that need liberation theology. It's also those people at the top who are acting antithetical to the people who they say they follow and worship. That's liberation theology. That it is about remedying the structures that cause poverty and violence and oppression, not just for the people who are at the bottom, for the poor, for the disabled, for LGBTQ folks, but for the people who do not realize that they are being dehumanized by the very actions that they put forth. When Howard Thurman gave this lecture on mysticism and social action that Kathy read, he talks about the ultimate goal of social action to reduce the blockages that allow anyone to connect with what he calls their altar. To remove the things that are preventing you from connecting with God, with love, with your neighbor, with your community, and with your deepest held values, with your theology. To try and get those things out of the way. That is the call of social action. It is a move from individual and thinking, I'm good because I have a personal Lord and Savior, to thinking more communally. What is my responsibility to my neighbor? What is my responsibility to the people around me, to my community? And indeed, who is my community? So you use, if you're new here, we're famous or infamous, depending on how you define it, for a few things. Very progressive politics, fuel-efficient cars, talking about love with a capital L, and social action. Those are some of the things that are reflected in these proposed values of the new bylaws that we've been talking about. But we are also somewhat infamous for our emphasis on individualism. One's individual right to belief, perhaps one's individual's right to comfort, and a move towards communalism, towards responsibility to other people. That's kind of hard for some of us. In a movement that came up out of the 60s and was so focused on anti-authoritarianism that was very much in line with the ideas of liberation theology coming out of Central and South America. Stick it to the man, absolutely. And a we mindset rather than an individual right to freedom is a big step for us to make. And we're in the process of making it right now. Isn't that something? And I imagine when the folks in Rome heard about the liberation theologies coming out of Central and South America in the 60s and 70s, they thought, ooh, that's a big change to make. And some of us in Unitarian Universalist communities I've seen these new proposed values and things like the eighth principle and a focus on communalism and think, ooh, that's a big change to make. And it is. In fact, it's not just a change. It's another theological word. It's a transformation. A transformation. A becoming something new. In our context, transformation is not just about changing the structures of the world, removing the blockages that people have from connecting with God or with one another. It's not just about trying to create conditions of justice and peace out there, although that's part of it. Obviously, these are all things that liberation theologians of all religions would agree on. But simply fixing the systems and electing the right people and changing the laws, those are all important things, and those are all things that require this. But simply building more equitable housing is not the way that liberation works. Liberation is a heart-centered activity. It requires here. It's embodied. It affects not just our motor neurons and our slow twitch muscle fibers and our nervous system and our lizard brain functions that tell us whether it's time to fight, flight, or freeze. Liberation is what happens when we go on the path from oppressed and oppressor towards being fully human, as Paulo Freire said. Liberation is what happens when we do the work of being in solidarity with one another, with marginalized peoples, when we get out of our own way, especially for those of us who look like me and hear that language of oppressor and feel a twinge of guilt right here. For those of us who are white and privileged and feel that guilt, reminder that is not a good source of transformation. Love. Liberating love. That is the only thing that changes here and here to build the world we dream about. Liberation is what happens when allies of queer folks and black and brown folks and poor folks and disabled folks and folks who generally do not look and sound like me, right? When allies move from simply being allies who will say the right things to being what we call accomplices. People who are part of the struggle, people who suffer from the struggle as well. That's what liberating love looks like, sounds like, acts like. It's not exactly like getting together in a circle and singing Kumbaya, although that can be a great first step. But UU congregations, friends, if we were to center love, for me that means being not just a safe place in the storm, not just a harbor for people to come in the door who didn't know that they could not believe in God and still come to a church, who didn't know that they could be queer and come in and hear that God loves you, and so do I, who didn't know that they could come and be here whether they learned how to clap on 1 and 3 or on 2 and 4. We're also called to be beacons of liberating love and to do this work of transformation, not just out there, but also in here. Because in this culture of white supremacy that so values productivity and able-bodiedism and getting things done and not showing your emotions and being perfect all the dang time, all of us suffer from that. And we all need liberation towards being fully human. Another word for that is wholeness, which is not the same thing as being perfect and not the same thing as having nothing wrong with you. But that means living into what you most believe and living it out in the world. And it means living into this hope that I don't have to have it all figured out. I don't have to be right all the time. I can make mistakes and still be welcomed back here. Because no thing and no one is irredeemable. There is nothing that can't be repaired, restored, loved into wholeness. Love them until they don't know anything else. And that is both about them, both those trying to cross the river to come to this country, and those putting up the barbed wire. And it is about us, loving ourselves until we don't know anything else. Whether we are unknowingly oppressors or the people who carry the oppression in our very skin and in our DNA. There has to be a place for hope in our theology. We close with a quote from Reverend Dr. William Barber. You must leave space in your heart for the transformation of everything, including the oppressors. Otherwise, you will become the very thing you hate. Because to love until they don't know anything else can wear you down. In the work to transform our world, may we transform ourselves along the way. Until liberating love is all we know, and liberating love is what we do. May it be so. Amen. Can we take a breath together? We'll invite Annie Gahib forward when she is ready. And Shay, if you will give our instructions about the offering.
Now is the time when we collect our offering of financial resources for the good of this community. Ushers, please go ahead and start passing the plates here in the sanctuary. We know there are many ways to give back to this congregation, and we encourage you to find ways that work for you. For giving of financial support, your money or checks put in the plate will be used to fund the ministries of this church. And any pocket change or other money that you designate Change for Change online or by putting them in the white envelopes in the pews will be sent to this month's selected Change for Change organization, Face to Face Germantown. More info is on your screen about how to give. Please know that if this is your first time with us, there is no expectation that you give anything other than a yellow contact form or letting us know how you found us and how we can support you. Offering will now be gratefully received.
Hello, my name is Annie, and I'm going to do a song for you called Way Down Deep. And there's some words in this song that say, I've got you in the glory place, I've got you way down deep. And for me, the glory place is the place in the heart where I hold you deeply with love. I've got you way down, way, way down, way, way down deep. I've got you way down, way, way down, way, way down deep. I've got you way down deep. I wander with you in my sleep from way down, way, way down, way, way down deep. It came to me this morning, I was walking down the street. Was like my soul could taste you, God, you tasted sweet. Finally I can breathe again, finally I can speak. 'Cause I've got you in the glory place, I've got you way down deep. I've got you way down, way, way down, way, way down deep. I've got you way down, way, way down, way, way down deep. I've got you way down deep. I wander with you in my sleep from way down, way, way down, way, way down deep. No matter if the road is long, no matter if it's steep, no No matter if the moon goes out and darkness is complete, no matter if we lose our way, I know we're gonna meet, 'cause I've got you in the glory place. I've got you way down deep. I've got you way down, way, way down, way, way down deep. I've got you way down, way, way down, way, way down deep. I've got you way down deep. I wander with you in my sleep from way down, way, way down, way, way down deep.
Thank you, Annie. And thank you all for being with us. We're getting ready to extinguish our chalice to end our time together this morning. But if you are interested in more about what's going on in the life of this congregation, I invite you to check out our announcement slides that are going on, the notes in your order of service. If you feel moved to join us for coffee and goodies after the service, we have coffee hour downstairs, and we are having a small or big, depending on how many people come, conversation about more of the Article 2, the UUA bylaws, the idea of these new proposed values, what it means to have liberating love at the center of all that we do. That's going to be in Hale Lounge. We invite you to grab something to eat or drink and to come join us over there.
While you're at an announcement, Barbara, could you mention the communication meeting is not happening on Tuesday like it says in the order of service?
The communication meeting is not happening on Tuesday as it says in the order of service, but it does say that on the notes that are online and in the newsletter, I believe. So if you're trying to come to the communication meeting, please do not come to that on Tuesday. Deb?
And please come to Ethne's memorial service at 2. We have to thank for the beautiful flowers today.
So for those who are coming to Ethne Ross's memorial service today at 2 p.m., folks can stay here if they would like to, and there will be a small reception afterwards with Ethne's families. We invite everyone that will be here in person and online. If you're online, it'll be the same Zoom link you're on now. Thank you, friends. The words to extinguish our chalice are from the hymn that we hummed and sang earlier, written by Mark Bellatini. I invite you to read the words together as Shay extinguishes our chalice here. It's on 2 slides. Would you read with me? O liberating love, we hear you in a sigh. We glimpse you when we see a wet or weary eye. We touch you when our hands extend to soothe or to embrace a friend. You sign the whole and source of life. Blessed be. Thank you, friends. Holly Ferris, we're sending you lots of love. We'll be singing our final hymn, number 95, More Love Somewhere. I'm going to invite us to stand and rise in body or in spirit.
We only know this one, so I'm going to play a little bit first.
I'm gonna keep on
Thank you, friends. There is more love somewhere, and we are going to keep on until we find it. We will get there. We will get there. Friends, go in peace and love, to be love in the world, to do the work of liberation, until to love and to live are to do the same thing. May it be so. Amen. Have a great week, friends.